Morning.
Morning,
Dr. Rob and
Dr. Steve,
another awesome day
in the universal
world. And we're all kind of in that creation of the universal world. And Dr. Steve and I have been talking about how we change our
lifestyle.
And we were talking about diet and diet. It's kind of like
First three letters, die.
it. And so really, do we really want to be it? I don't think so. And we're talking about how in the lifestyle changes about what we put into our body and our habits, we need to change them up.
Mm-hmm. And we do have that space. To put something in our body, we actually have to put it in our body. There's a space there that we can make a choice. But who chooses? Who's the chooser? Is it our biology? Is it our mind? Is it
just driving
the article
down
we read, that day?
Well, you're driving down the road and suddenly, fast food 1, 2, 3, or 4, or when you're walking through the market, there's all this stuff with high sugar.
So who's choosing? Who's the chooser?
Well, it's really hard. And our habits have been sort of, it's all right in front of us, and our brains say eat. And
that's how we're wired. We're wired to have calories when they're available. So
how do we change it up?
Like, we were talking about, fertility. The same way, like, the body is made to be fertile. But what's interrupting that? So sometimes we have to look at, you were talking yesterday how the change, sometimes it's diet affects our fertility, but it also affects our vitality.
And in that vitality, we create the fertility. And I recently I watched 2 movies. One is called Fed Up, and the other is Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. And the concepts really are so much about the cycle of high sugar, high carbs, high insulin, and the immune response in our body is set into a dangerous motion that causes so many diseases that we think are just aging.
Right.
Hypertension.
Diseases that only kings and queens got back in the day because they were the only ones who could overabundance.
So
diabetes, heart disease, it's not a disease of scarcity.
Although we were also talking about the fact that death is inevitable, and so sickness and that comes to all. But in the meantime, while we're learning and practicing living in vitality, much of it has to do with not eliminating, but focusing on what's good for us to put in here. And
so we were talking about the grain-free diet as a way to restrict certain things from our body. So what I find in my practice is when I say grain-free diet, people go, oh, no bagels, no croissants. Someone said the other day, no scones. I make great scones. Would you like some? And I said, you can eat any kind of flesh, any kind of vegetable, except for corn, because it's a grain, and any kind of fruit. That's abundance. We have an abundance of all that. So look at the abundance of what you can rather than what you can't.
Well, and our proportions and listening to one of these shows and how the meat portion is huge, the white portion is huge on our plate, and the green vegetable portion is kind of like this, and it's usually overdone. And really, it should be the green portion should be in abundance on our plates, and it really, as a caloric content, it fills us up faster with lower calories,
more nutritious,
much more minerals and micronutrients that are absorbed much better into our body.
When you go to Asian countries, 5 ounces of meat feeds a family. It's really for flavoring, for that, some fat, which is satiating to the body. And then they eat root vegetables and greens because they're inexpensive and they fill up, as you say, they fill up things. But you get like selenium, vanadium, you get all these chromium, these deep minerals from those vegetables.
That you don't have to buy from a bottle and take supplements if you're utilizing those food groups that come from the ground and our green and root vegetables in much more abundance. And that's the focus really of this lifestyle change, is that, you know, the baking goods are good, but rarely as the treat. And the same with, you got to get rid of the sugars, the soft drinks, the diet drinks. And it's amazing that many of these diet drinks have some sugar content that you may not know about.
And it mimics sugar content too, so which makes you crave more.
In one of these movies, they talked about cocaine and sugar as really the rats preferred the sugar, and they had the same adverse effects on the brain as the cocaine did. And so really our biggest issue is that we are all addicted to the white stuff.
And I had this conversation with a patient yesterday. It's, you know, to make bread, you know, hundreds of years ago, it could take days to take the grain and grind it and dry it and mix it, and you came out with like a flat, hard piece of bread for your 3 days' work. We're here that we easily get these highly polished, highly milled, highly ground, and
yet bread should still be a minimum part of our diet and a lifestyle. We're going to keep on moving on that, and that to change the word diet to our lifestyle, and how we energize our bodies with the proper foods, fresh every day, greens, and also make sure you're adding into the mind this is easy. I enjoy these flavors. I enjoy the processing, and I know that for Tia and I, we really enjoy the cooking process, the creative process together, and that's part of bringing us all together in much better ways.
It takes some, you know, what we were talking about, you know, when we dial something back, like grain-free diet, nightshade-free diet, when we fully eliminate something, we do the mung bean soup fast a lot in my office, it might be a little, you know, the body goes, oh, something's really different here for a few days. But then we lose those cravings for the sugars, the breads, which shows that it's not a natural.
Well, we find, and I know you were talking about onions and garlic and the really rich oil, olive oil and grapeseed oil. And you know, we need these things. And then fresh butter. Eggs are good. But like anything else, the breakfast, lunch, and dinner, why so much? Our plates are too big. We really...
And then our body just has to work harder. More insulin, more cortisol, more... You know, we talk about the science and the...
Well, and the diet,
the lifestyle.
Well, I'm going to call it diet, that we're consuming the wrong foods, which, again, insulin, cortisol, which affects inflammation, hormones affects every cell in our body and causes many diseases that can be eliminated simply by practicing a new way of
being lifestyle.
Being lifestyle and fueling your fueling the lifestyle. And remember, your gas tank, you can only put so much gas in it.
And you know what? Gas is the same every station you go in, but you can get different candy bars there.
Yeah, that's our other issue. Well, listen, this is Dr. Rob.
Dr. Steve.
And just sharing some thoughts of the day. And join us for more thoughts as we enjoy 2015. And
we have a caller.
And there's a caller, and I'm going to go take that. And you guys enjoy the day. Dr. Rob.
Dr. Steve.
God bless.